Hi, this is Michael Niza with 47products.com. The purpose of this video is to go over some basic troubleshooting for feeding issues that you may have in shooting off of the loading tray solutions, be that the Louse Lips Tray that replaces the feed lips in the existing magazine, or the Mall Rat Sled, which is a complete magazine replacement. Either one, the issues we're going to discuss really are not unique to either one of them. You can run into the issues with either of these solutions. So the first thing I want to talk about is lockup. The lockup should be the same as a normal magazine. So when you're putting this in place, it should go up and click into place. You can see that the line where this back of the product, it includes that little line where you can see where the metal changes in direction. So you can see it's brighter on top and then it's darker down in. The product should go up and should lock in to cover that. And you can see that's the same whether you're working with that or you're working with the original product. You can see it goes up and it covers that line. If you're feeding one of these products in place and it is not going up and covering that, then it probably hasn't locked in completely. So you can see that's locked up completely in place. But you can push it up and hear it click and think, okay, I'm good. But you can see in the back here, it has not pushed up all the way, and it actually needs to go up a little bit further into place where it will lock. Once it is locked into place, you should not be able to pull this in any direction and get any wiggle out of it whatsoever. The only way you should be able to remove this Mall Rat Sled is to use that magazine replacement or magazine release arm to get this back out of the system. So if you're feeding it up into place, you still have some wiggle. It hasn't fed up all the way. You need to get it all the way up into place. Now, with some of the Ruger American rim fires, I've found that the tolerances front to back are a little bit smaller, and the same seems to be the case with some of the new Ruger Precision rimfire rifles, where the tolerances front to back here can be a little bit tight. And so I've had to, on my stainless Ruger American rimfire, I've had to actually go through and actually I've got the magazine I used with that rifle here. You can see where I've actually had to sand down the front of this so that way this one will lock up into it. It seems to be an anomaly. Not all of the rifles have that tighter tolerance, so I haven't changed the design, but some of them do. So in those I've had to just take a little bit off the front, maybe even like 1/4 of a millimeter, enough so that way it locks up in place without having to really force it. So get up the front part up and the back, and it clicks into place. If it's not clicked up into place, if that edge isn't included on the back, then the angles aren't right and you're going to experience some issues with feeding. So that's number one. Two is to make certain that the round is successfully seated in the tray here. So when you put it in place, it should center itself relatively well. If it's a little bit off to one side or the other, or it's pushed towards the front, then you can have some issues that it's not going to have the opportunity to center itself. So when I'm dropping a round in place, one of the things you'll see me do in the videos is that when I drop it in place, I just push it towards the back. Now that gives it the most opportunity to straighten itself, so that way it's going to feed effectively up into the chamber. So when I'm putting a round in, you'll see that I'll drop it in place and kind of push it towards the back. That will give it the opportunity to center itself and go up into battery effectively. If it's off a little bit, you can see here I've got that kind of pushed up and off out of the place. When I'm pushing that forward, because it's towards the back, it has the opportunity to drop down into the tray and center itself, so that way it'll feed very well. So centering the round, making sure it's pushed towards the back of the tray, that'll give it the best opportunity to level itself and to be lined up properly. One of the other things that I've seen that can be an issue is when you have your rifle canted improperly. So if it's leaning one way or the other, if it leans over towards one side, as that bolt comes forward, that heavy weight of that tip will actually pull that round toward you, and it will miss going into battery. So you can see I've kind of slanted this one pretty substantially, but that is something that you can see to have problems as you're pushing that forward. If assuming that rifle's canted, it will come toward you. So nice and vertical when the round is going to feed forward. Push towards the back, so that way that round has plenty of distance to center itself. The magazine replacement, be it the Mall Rat Sled or the Louse Lips Tray, good and locked up in place. Assuming those are in alignment, then at that point you should have successful feeding. If you don't, one of the things you can do is take a look at the sled itself and look down on the inside of this little channel here. Make sure that that's good and clear, that nothing's gotten down in the way. If you get something that's embedded itself, should be able to just clean it out very easily. If it's something that's stuck down in it, it's not coming out easily, just use one of those scrub pads, the softer ones, the ones that are okay for Teflon coatings. That's a really great solution. Just go over and just kind of scrub this area out and make sure it's good and clean. I can tell you that this is the Mall Rat Sled that rides in the shooting system with this one. You can see it's pretty grody. This thing's well loved, thousands and thousands of rounds, and that's all I do with this one to keep it clean. I just kind of go over it with a little pad across the top, just a scour pad, and clean that up, and it's been a really great solution for me. Like I said, thousands and thousands of rounds, and this is the one I use in this rifle all the time. On some rifles, the stainless steel version of the Ruger American rimfire that I have, in some of the new precision rimfires, I've found that the tolerances are a little smaller front to back, so getting lockup to happen can be a little difficult. So on those ones, I have had to take a little bit of front off of this one. You can see this is the one that actually rides with my stainless. It is a little bit tighter here, so getting that lockup right can be difficult.